But what if I told you that by adding an invisible sequence of numbers to that prompt words you can't even read, I could make the AI look at that same Ravens puzzle and confidently tell you, no. That's logically impossible. Today, we're diving into a fascinating new paper from Brian K. Chen at the National University of Singapore, Logical Judgments Under Pressure, Diagnosing Syllogistic Stability with Learned Soft Prefixes. It's a study that reveals something profound. AI, logic, is often just a thin veneer that can be peeled back by a specific kind of contextual pressure. Before we talk about how the researchers broke the models, we need to understand the difference between accuracy and robustness. Accuracy is simple. Did the model give the right answer to the question? Robustness is harder. Does the model stay right when the environment changes? The author, Brian Chen, argues that benchmark accuracy doesn't tell the whole story. An AI might be accurate on a logic test, but if it reverses its judgment just because you change the background context without changing the logic itself, then it hasn't actually learned logic, it's just following a pattern. To test this, the study uses syllogistic logic. This is the oldest form of formal logic. Validity. Does the conclusion must follow from the premises? Satisfiability. Can all these statements be true at the same time? These are exactly labeled. There is no room for opinion. It's math with words. If a model flips its answer on these, we know for a fact it's making a mistake. Now, let's talk about the soft prefix. This is the core of the experiment. Usually, when we try to trick an AI, we use prompt engineering. We use human words like ignore your previous instructions. But the researchers here use something much more surgical. Learned soft prefixes. A soft prefix isn't a string of words. It's a short sequence of continuous embedding vectors. Think of it as raw brain data injected directly into the model's first layer. The researchers kept the language model, Quen and Gemma, frozen. They didn't change a single weight in the AI's brain. Instead, they trained just these tiny prefixes. The goal? Optimize the prefix to redirect the model. They told the prefix, find the specific mathematical vibe that makes the model want to say invalid even when the logic is valid. Because these prefixes are just vectors, they are opaque. We can't read them. They are like an invisible whisperer nudging the model's internal state. The researchers targeted 3 major models. They focused on 2 specific reversals. 1. Unsatisfiable to satisfiable. 2. Valid to invalid. Why those 2? Because logically, they are one-way streets. In Aristotelian logic, adding more information can't make an impossible set of statements possible. If I tell you A is B and A is not B, that's impossible. No matter what context I add, it stays impossible. So, if a soft prefix makes the model change its mind, it's not because the prefix provided a logical counterargument. It's because the prefix successfully pressured the model into an error. The results were startling. These learned prefixes were incredibly effective. In Quen 3, 6, the prefixes flipped correct answers to wrong ones up to 90% of the time. But here is the kicker: generalization. The researchers trained the prefix on one set of logic puzzles. Then they tested it on puzzles with totally different logical structures and different wording, like using random strings like all QXJ are ZMD. The whisper still worked. The prefix didn't just learn to break one specific puzzle, it learned how to exploit a general weakness in the model's stability. They also compared these learned prefixes to random prefixes. If you just throw random noise at an AI, it usually stays robust. The random prefixes had a flip rate of less than 1%. This proves that the learned prefixes discovered a specific pathway to override the model's logic. This is the most academic, but also the most interesting part of the paper. How are these prefixes working? Are they forcing a specific word? Like, is the prefix just shouting, say invalid, say invalid? To find out, the researchers built score models. They looked at the internal confidence scores of the AI. They discovered 2 different behaviors. Gemma was very predictable. The soft prefix acted like a global steering wheel. It moved the model's confidence in a consistent, structured way across almost all examples. Quen was messier. The prefix would flip the answer, but the internal scores were all over the place. Quen's failure was more heterogeneous. Ultimately, they found that the dominant effect was a broad answer preference. The prefix wasn't re-reasoning the logic. It was creating a massive semantic bias. It made the meaning of invalid so attractive to the model that the actual logic of the premises didn't matter anymore. Consider this simple puzzle. All ravens are birds. All birds have wings. Therefore, all ravens have wings. You don't need to be a genius to see that's a valid argument. Modern large language models like GPT-4, Qwen, or Gemma get these right almost 100% of the time. We see this and think, wow, the AI can reason. It understands logic. Finally, the researchers asked, where in the brain does this flip happen? They used a technique called activation patching. They would take the clean internal state of the model without the trick and slowly patch in parts of the tricked state. They found that you couldn't stop the trick just by fixing the logic tokens or the answer token. The bias was spread across the entire prompt representation. By the time the model got to the end of the sentence to give its answer, the invisible whisper of the soft prefix had already corrupted the entire context. So, what's the takeaway? This paper tells us that accuracy is a fragile metric. A model can be a logic champion on paper, but if an invisible string of vectors can turn that logic off, we have a robustness problem. As we start using AI for more critical tasks, legal analysis, medical coding, or software logic, we have to realize that these models are sensitive to contextual pressure in ways humans aren't. We can be tricked by clever words, but we generally aren't tricked by invisible whispers in our sensory input. Brian Chen's work provides a diagnostic tool. By using these soft prefixes, we can find the stability boundaries of AI. We can map out exactly where a model's logic ends and where its biases begin. If you want to read the full paper, and I highly recommend it for the math behind the score models, I've linked it in the description. What do you think? Is AI reasoning real, or is it just a house of cards waiting for the right nudge? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of AI research. I'll see you in the next one.